Good morning, everybody. This is Grace. In this video, I'm going to talk about, I'm going to do a stream of consciousness kind of video and with the topic about people, basically the blind leading the blind. And this is when it comes to, say, these days people just call it narcissistic abuse. Back then we just called it abuse. Back when I'm going to be referring to, or just problems. Really, sometimes it was just we having problems. But, and the blind leading the blind in it. Okay. Now, I got married when I was 18, way too young in my view now, of course. Well, not of course, but yeah, it was way too young, in my opinion. And when back then, I had friends, around my age and everything, and when we would have a problem with our boyfriends or husbands, whatever it was for whichever woman, we would talk to one another about it. Now, I'm of two minds of that. I think it's good to have somebody to listen. But when it comes to giving advice, totally different story. Now, yes, somebody you can listen to, somebody you can, they will listen to you. Somebody that you can relate to, sure, fine. But there are always exceptions, of course, because some people, they're going to interject their own views on all of it, and they could be wrong, very wrong. And that's what I want to talk about. Okay, so to go back to this, we would go to one another, our friends, and we talk about the problems, whatever problem we were having, and the other person would listen. Like I said, but when it came to that advice, seriously, I do wonder how much damage we did to one another with our advice. That instead of going to a counselor, somebody who is licensed to be a counselor for these issues, whether it was a marriage and family therapist, yeah, I think that's what it was back then, or a licensed professional counselor, whatever it was, that dealt with that back then, we just discussed it with one another and gave one another, I don't know about giving one another advice, but yeah, like we knew what we were talking about, we didn't. Okay, this is why I have problems with people who are not just this reason, this is not just the only one, with people who say they're life coaches and they've been through it, and I just did a whole video again about that. So therefore, because they've experienced it, and also the thing that I've mentioned before is that too many people that are these life coaches will say that the people who are counselors, they just don't understand as much because they haven't been through it. Really? Seriously. I have said this before with the nerve, that for them to say that. Why do you think people go into fields? I remember there was and I've mentioned this one before, there was a man who came in, a guest lecturer in a class in a graduate school for a counseling class. It was on, I think, substance abuse counseling. It was. And he gave a lecture about, he was a counselor, but he had been a drug addict. And he got himself clean and sober and all this, and he became a counselor to help other people. That I can see. I can see that. But as far as to say, somebody has been through a drug, has been a drug addict or is, and they can give, this life coaching to people. Life coaches are not counselors. I keep repeating this, but no, just because you've experienced it and you're still in it. So, okay, back to that man that was a guest lecturer. As he said, he got into that field because he had experienced it. Now, just because there's one doesn't mean that all do that. No, of course not. But he mentioned some research, I don't remember what it is, that was many years ago, and about that same thing, that the people who go into counseling, whatever field whatever area they focus on, is because they have experienced it, or someone who is their like friend or family member, somebody close to them, they've been through it. Okay, so yeah, this bunch of bunk that people are putting out there, that these licensed counselors don't know because they've lived in the ivory tower. That's another thing that they'll say. Some say, not everybody in any of this, but some will say that, they've lived in the ivory tower. Really? Yeah, I'm going to say that. Really? You think they don't live in the real world? Like people put it, you see me doing air quotes, the real world? Come on now, seriously. Oh, boy. Okay. Now, as far as, like, back to this about, we would give one another advice and everything. Like I said, I feel it's good in a way you like to have somebody to talk to, but what damage are you doing to them, too? It might feel good for you, but is it damaging them? They might become very cynical, or they negative, especially at young ages, any ages really. Instead of going to seek counseling, have the counselor, talk to you, listen to you. A big part of counseling is, for some, it just depends, is listening. And, they're the ones, not your friend, not your family member, yeah. But, like I said, how much damage did we do to one another because we took on this so young, so naive, that, that we would even take it on. Who knows? Who knows how much damage we've done to one another? Do you think could there be research on how it is? Do you think there was? Anything? Back then there was more of a stigma, by the way, as you can imagine, on going to counselors, but, counselor. But there were counselors. These days, I don't see why anybody would just want to say, nah, I'm going to skip that. And, I'll just take the advice of some stranger, that's a life coach, or just anybody. My friend, family, just anybody, as if they know. They're not the counselors. They're not, they might not even have spent a day in a class in psychology. That doesn't make you a counselor. But, yeah. Okay, and I could say that, some people would say that I was triggered by some things I've seen lately. Seriously, videos, and some of them just sitting there going, wow. Nothing really, really amazes me anymore. So me saying, wow, it's kind of like, another one, really. But just people saying, oh, I'm going to be a life coach, and I'm going to give people all kinds of advice, and they can just send me money for it. First of all, like I said, life coaches aren't counselors. So, but they believe it. They believe in it, that they can just give people advice and people send them money and they're going to become rich that way. And wow. Yeah. I just got out of the gym/rec center. Well, I was in there about 30 minutes, I guess. And anyway, where was I? I think I was just talking about that, and I was going to another subject. I've been triggered, some would say, by watching some videos where people were just saying that they should become life coaches because they've been through so much. Now, there's some who already have, as we know, done that, and then there's some that just think they can, okay, or just now thinking about it, and their channels are really much about how screwed up their lives are. Okay, these are people who are thinking that they are going to help other people with their lives, all the while talking about how screwed up their own lives are. You see? And it begs a question: who would take advice from them? Pardon the mount. This mount's weird. It's the only one that doesn't jiggle too much. But anyway, who would? Let me try to turn it this way. Who would go for, thinking this person's actually going to help them? I don't want to blame any victim, but these people are often really good at the con game. And some may just, they're making videos on whatever social media. YouTube's not the only one. So they're such good at conning people. They're very charismatic. They say what people want to hear, and all down that line. And some people, they fall for it. I'm not blaming the victim, but stating it as it is. They do. And I think some of them just want to talk to that person, because they say, you can call me, and of course give them some money to call. And I think they just want to hear that person, you know, like that person one-to-one kind of thing. And now I can understand that people, they see some people, you know, as celebrities in a way who do videos, especially live stream, I think. Either way, live stream or not. But they see them as, you know, because they're popular, they see them as celebrities, so they just want to have a one-on-one conversation with that person. And some of them could be trolls. Now, I've seen various ways people have done this. Some of it is they weren't asking for money for the phone call, but people who would call in could donate. Okay, donate seems to be the word. Yeah, you don't. It depends on where you live if you pay taxes on donations or not. But okay, and there was one or two I've seen that when, you know, the people call, you know, while it's on a live stream, people call and they just talk about things. You know, they have it on speakerphone and let the people who are watching hear the voice too. You know, I've seen more than one like that, and in a way that boosts their, I don't know, subscribership. They get more subscribers, they get more views, you know, and people make donations. Yeah. What is it, Super Chat on YouTube? I don't know about other places. People put their PayPals up and everything. And but anyway, I had thought about doing something like that, but not as far as not for getting money. Not at all for getting money. It was just to, you know, like, could be a live stream or it could be a recorded one. I did live streams a few years ago, but I've done more than one. But I don't know. Kind of rambling here, but yeah, to me, it's so much of it is about money that it just kind of, some would say triggers me, but it's like my pet peeve. But at the same time, one of the things I've noticed, and I probably should divide these up, maybe I will, these videos, but when people talk about, when I hear people talk about becoming a life coach, what I see is that, yeah, you need a brand, like on YouTube. What I've seen, I could be totally wrong about this, but what I've seen is you have to have a brand, not only for, like, your channel has a goal or something, a genre or a theme, however, and not only that kind, but also something like you're selling because of it. And YouTube used to not be like that at all, in my view. There were a few people who did, but now it's just like past few years, all of a sudden it's so many. Otherwise, you're just kind of ignored. You know, you don't do it. And I have thought about, you know, I put effort into this. It's not like I just make a video, throw it up, and that's it. That's not a good way to put that. But, yeah, you know, but yeah, I've thought about what would be my brand. I don't have one. And I was thinking last night after seeing somebody say that, I said, boy, I'm doing YouTube all wrong, you know, doing it. Because if somebody, like what I saw last night, thinks that they can be a life coach, I don't want to be a life coach. But just people pay this person just because, yeah, I've seen a lot of those over the years, though. I think I rambled that, and now I'm starting to sneeze. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and just wrap this up. Talk to you on another video.